When I read a novel, I like to read enough to understand characters and situations, and then I read the end so I can read the rest of the book without worrying about what's going to happen. And that habit inspired this week's Sunday question. Hey everyone, I'm Denise Brown and I write what I call Sunday questions. I like to think of a good question in my head so my mind seeks out a good answer. I use this strategy during stressful times, and it's been very effective. So I turned it into a habit. And I share that habit with you by creating Sunday questions for us to keep in mind for the next 7 days. Yesterday, I hosted a workshop about writing a book inspired by your personal caregiving experience. And I hosted the workshop because I'm launching an 8-week caregiving author program where I help individuals who want to write a book write the book. And so during that workshop, I shared that strategy of reading the end so I'm comfortable reading the rest. And during the workshop, I had us do an exercise where attendees wrote a 6-word story about how they want the reader of the book that they will write to feel at the end of the book. They haven't started writing a book, but they have an idea of how they want their reader to feel at the end. And that idea forms their focus when they write their book. So that idea of really thinking about how do we want to feel at the end helped me create this week's Sunday question. And this week's Sunday question is, at the end of today, how will I feel? And here's what I wrote for you. What if we could create an ending we want before we even begin? Let's do that this week. Decide how we feel when our day ends as the day begins. We can decide we want to feel productive, effective, complete, grateful, brave, fulfilled, assertive, supported, enough, healed, or at peace. When we set that intention for how our day ends, we can check in during our day to make sure we spend our time and energy creating that outcome. If we want to feel productive at the end of the day, we'll avoid moments that derail our focus because of too much drama. We can remind ourselves of our choice by beginning our day with this question. At the end of the day, how will I feel? How will you feel at the end of today? I'd love to know. Share a comment. If this was helpful, hit like. And if you want to receive all our content, hit subscribe. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for all you do. I'm Denise Brown.